There we are live.
We are live now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday. It is just gone 8:30. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and All, where we weekly, every Thursday, we chat about all things rugby. We regularly have profile guests on from Rugby World, and tonight is no different. Joining me this evening are familiar faces from the group. You all know who they are. We have Matt Boland, we have Claire Devaney, we have Mike Reedy. And our guest, folks, his rugby CV is as long as your arm. He has played for the Sharks, he has played for Ulster, he has played for Munster, he has played for Lyon, he has played for Biarritz, he has played 25 times for his home country, South Africa. And he is, and this is a first for us, folks, because we've never had a Rugby World Cup winner on the show.
Wow.
It is, of course, folks, BJ Botha. BJ, how the hell are you, buddy?
Cheers, Peter. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, all good. Thanks very much for having me on.
Not at all. You're more than welcome. We are more than happy to have you on. Excuse me.
Lovely. I love the hat. I love the hat there.
Do you like that, Jess? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like your hat. You're in your car. You're in your car somewhere, BJ. Are you on your way to the chipper, or where are you going?
I'm in good old Malahide. Yeah. So yeah, just finished the session.
All right. Okay. And what were you? Were you doing your scrum coaching?
I was definitely not doing backline. I was just doing the scrum stuff. Exactly.
Just doing the scrum stuff. Okay. Okay. Well, listen, BJ.
Is it still as cold in Estuary? Is it still as cold in Estuary Road as it ever was out in that pitch? That pitch is always freezing because of where it sits.
Yeah, no, not tonight. It's a lovely 26 degrees. Yeah. My second time. Yeah, it's lovely now with the lake and everything out.
Wait until you get there on a cold, rainy November, December with the winds coming in off the Irish Sea, the rain swirling, and maybe a bit of sleet. It's fabulous.
Claire, do you want to take over and just host her?
Sorry. Just having a chat. Sorry. Just having a chat.
Come here, BJ, before we get into it, and now I know I sent you a list of topics, and a few of them are could be quite controversial, but we'll hope
very much.
We'll have a chat about it. But come here to me, BJ. What did you think of your overall impression of this year's Lions? We'll ease into it. What did you make of it?
Yeah, look, I think it was a funny one. I think it was on everyone's tip of their tongue. You know, what was it really gonna be like? I suppose, you know, building up the Australian side that they have been going through a little bit of turmoil up and down, and with Joe Smith at the helm there and everything, you know. And I suppose the Lions side that was, I think it's probably ended up like people expected. I think in one sense we never knew, but I suppose I was always warning the fact that Australia could kind of definitely show up, and I suppose it doesn't really matter when they're playing their preliminary games or taking their provincial games, and obviously Lions were having a lot of success. It's always about the test matches, really, you know. But look, I think in one sense it's a special time. You know, we need to celebrate that the Lions are special. It happens every 4 years, and I suppose when you play for your country, from New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa, it's only once every, you know, kind of 12 years. So you like almost think, well, what are the chances of me being part of that? You know, in one sense, it's really special for those players that play against the Lions, and I suppose the same for the Lions. You know, so I think it came off as best as I think it could. I think there's obviously some controversy around certain things like the second game, but I think that always adds to the spice of the series. But initially, I think, you know, we can really look back, and I think it was successful. I think, you know, players put up their hands that did. Selection always plays a big part. You know, look back at the selection of the Lions team. You can never get it perfect, but I think you know, a couple of players stepped up and surprised me. Came from right from the back all the way to the front, and were starting in a test match, which I didn't really give them, you know, a chance. And I think it was a success as a whole.
Now, come here, BJ. I saw this today or yesterday, I think it was, or today. I can't remember which one. But you mentioned there Australia, obviously. David Campese, yes. BJ, who I've said to you we've had on this show before. I don't always agree with Campese. He can be a bit controversial, I think, for controversial sake. But he can't. He came out and he said, and I'm quoting him, BJ, and I want to know what you think of it. Now, you can be as diplomatic as you want, okay?
Yeah.
He said, I can see why Joe Schmidt has never won a Rugby World Cup. He has no idea about rugby, clueless. this shows us why. And this was in relation to James O'Connor's call-up. What would you say to that, BJ? Would you be critical of Campo about that? Go on.
Well, I know Campo well. I mean, actually, he was actually with us at the Sharks. He was an advisor consultant when I was at the Sharks still, So I like him. Obviously, I respect him as a player. I think he was an absolute legend in his day for Australia, and we know that well. But of course, I think we look at people that obviously are out in the media talking about certain aspects as is, you almost think, what is the meaning behind this? And I suppose it's probably at one point Campo's way talks about things as he does like this, and trying to get, obviously, I don't think it's completely personal in one sense, but I think it's Campo's way of maybe showing his real passion. I think he's a real passionate guy for Australian rugby. He loves the game. He really wants to put his, I suppose, his words behind the game. And I suppose in one part, I feel obviously that he can obviously at times say things that people will take the wrong way. Now, I'm not to say that was the right thing, but in one part, I think Joe Schmidt is the man that makes the calls. I think he's the one that the sword's going to fall on. And I think when you make these selections, James O'Connor, I think Joe's smart enough to understand why. I think we need to give him that respect and find that he knows and he's got a plan in place there. And I think sometimes you'll find that this is not maybe from the outset, but from within. I think sometimes you'll find one player spurs on a few, and I suppose he brings that experience, he brings that, playing in South Africa multiple times, which you need. You need that in South Africa and against South Africa. You need experience first and foremost, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen off the ball. A lot, not even before you even hit the grass. So that you need experience for that. A lot of the times players are not so much intimidated, but maybe not acutely in the game because of the distractions and because of all these things that happen off the field in South Africa, So as part of, I suppose, that as well. And I think obviously on that note, Campo is Campo, I think, and we have to take it sometimes with a pinch of salt. And I think I look at it like that, and we go at each other hard when we do speak and talk each other. And I mean, you kind of almost come to a point, but of course, it looks a little bit outwards from the outset,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you for that, BJ.
Hope that wasn't too diplomatic.
No. We don't expect you to be diplomatic, but you can describe or say or react any which way you want. Okay, a few comments before we move on. Christopher Goff, good evening all. Hi, Christopher. How are you? Luke Conway, how's all? Hi all. How is things? Things are.
Hey, Luke.
Good. Sonia Croak, hi Sonia, evening all. Great to have you on the show, BJ. Yes, absolutely it is. David Topping, who's a fine Ulster supporter. Good evening, everyone. Great to see you on the show, BJ. Great to have BJ on the show. Okay, anyone else any thoughts briefly before we move on to what we're supposed to be talking about? Mike Reedy, David Campese criticising Joe Schmidt. Any thoughts? I don't want to spend too long on this.
I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I won't get into it too much.
I
remember Campese all his rugby, and he was a fabulous player. But
he was.
We had him on this show, and I left thinking, I can see why you don't have a job in rugby, because you're fucking clueless.
Mike. Yeah.
He did know, in fairness. That's the impression that he gave me, and he said that about Joe Schmidt. That's absolutely, what he said is absolute nonsense. Do you know something? The acid test is going to be Saturday when they play the box.
I'm sorry I asked you, Mike. Jeez, I'm fucking sorry I asked you. Yeah, all right. Okay, all right, okay, Grant. Thanks, Mike. Matt Boland, go on.
Yeah,
any quick thoughts?
No, I think he's a bit out of touch. I think things that happened for him when he was playing in his career were slightly different to things going on now. So I think he's a little bit out of touch, but sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Claire.
Go on.
Yes. I agree with what the other people say. Short and sweet. There we go. I'm done.
Oh, you're such a diplomat. Okay.
I know I'm such a diplomat.
BJ, okay, back to you on one thing that is close to your heart because of the position that you played in all your career, which was the front row, which is prop. This now the reason I brought this up is because we also had BJ David Corkery on the show, and he has been quite vocal about this in the dangers of it, and he has said on Facebook, it's only a matter of time before a rugby player it could be a bit extreme now, but he said it's only a matter of time before a rugby player gets seriously injured or loses their life on live TV because of the jackal and that sort of thing. There have been, I've seen it online, there have been increasingly calls to ban the jackal, BJ. How would that look? Is it possible? Or how would you, does it need to be refed better? BJ, go on, you're trying to get in there, go on.
Yeah, no, look, I think we have to take the step right back first and foremost and understand, I suppose, rugby as a game. And I suppose when we look at the game itself, it's about where can we win possession and keep possession. I think it's critical around that part. And I suppose the breakdown, as with the scrum, it's not as sure. It's quite grey. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. The refs have a look at a lot of things, and I suppose it's an area where maybe the breakdown even more so is that we've got an opportunity to get the ball back. And you're rewarded. You're rewarded for a good body position over the ball, showing your hands as it is most recently, not when I was playing, but showing your hands and getting over the ball and rewarded. And obviously, the counter side of that is the cleaner needs to moves the man away from the ball to get obviously the ball on a plate for his own back line. So, the contact point is obviously important because we've spoken about that. I suppose the whole Australian thing, what happened in part of the second, kind of test, and that kind of came to the fore. And if you ask me in that position, I think it's in that place itself. I think that was as good as clean you could get in a man in that position, coming into that position. And I suppose the consequences of that is obviously what we're trying to talk about here, but in a sense, rugby would, what do you do around that point now? If you want to say how do you control that? I think it's one part tough to step away and say refs deal with it. I think the refs have been thrown in the deep end a little bit. And I suppose touching on, especially from a scrum perspective, all we do to help refs at the scrum sometimes is change the laws and bring in new ones. And they've got all these things to juggle at the same time where we can really simplify things for them and actually bring them to a place where they really can acutely understand what's happening quite quickly and then make a decision. And similarly with the ruck. And I think the ruck is an area, again, as I said, it's quite grey. I think you obviously have the guys coming over, competing for the ball, as we know. That's obviously, really broken down. However, you have this position where the guy is obviously at times in a poor position. He's running around the corner. He's fatigued. He's giving himself a go. He's in the wrong body position. We've obviously eradicated the side entry, which was hell of a dangerous. The kind of side entry with the knee injuries you've been having.
And the croc roll, BJ, as well.
The croc roll that comes into it as well. So we're kind of trying to understand where we're going with this. Okay, so if you had to ask me, I think people want to take this to a kind of a no contact zone and that we're moving to the side of league? Is that the question? If this is the question, then no, because then it's not rugby. So where do you draw this back and where do you find the middle ground? Because obviously in one part, do we keep on coaching and say, listen, do we reward? You'd have to look at how well do you reward a poacher and a jackal coming into that position, and hemming. Do you blow it earlier? Do you find that you kind of blow it until that the man is obviously in a position that he doesn't get exposed to an injury or kind of a head contact or real big traumatic event? But I suppose I come from the old and the new, and I suppose when I was playing right in the beginning stage, early 2000s, I mean there was nothing of any taking off of any player. It was only landing, and landing was the only thing you did. There was no on the feet stuff. All you had to do is decimate the man in front of you and bring him through with your shoulder and take him out the way. And I suppose everyone must have seen that one clip where you back in the 90s and the guys are thrown all over the place, tackled on the head and stuff. Those were times where, for me, the ref, a lot of the time, all they were looking is at the ball. So is the ball available? Play. What's happening on the periphery? Not so much. Now the ref has got every single thing to look at. He's looking at the ball. He's looking at the entry points. He's looking at contact points. He's looking at jackal. He's looking at the counter clean. A lot of information. Hence the fact for me, I don't know if we can go to the ref and say, make a better decision, make a cleaner decision. What do you add to this? I have a question around it, and I feel that for me, the question is, where are we going with this? Because I still believe fundamentally rugby union is a game where we have opportunities, turnover, possession. or retain possession. And the ruck is a fundamental part of this, you know. So I think from that we have to draw back.
Yeah, no. I think that the points you raised there, points you made, are extremely interesting and valid. Absolutely. But rugby has come from, I think, in some ways, BJ. I don't know if you would agree with this, to a contact sport to an avoidance sport, if you know what I mean. And if you get what I mean, in that.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Moving on.
But is that what we want?
No, it's not. If
So
when I played the game a long time ago.
Many moons ago.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Gary. There was like, it was just, now this is in the 80s, early 80s. It was nearly a free for all, BJ, because there was none. Obviously, it wasn't professional. That happened in 95, 96. But there seemed to be, I don't know if it was just me that thought it or whatever, but there seemed to be less injuries back then for some. I don't know. If it's just something I have in my head or what. I don't know. I mean,
I have to agree with you.
All right.
Maybe it was one part. Maybe we didn't know, and I suppose the one specific one, like I think all round, there would. I could agree with you in one aspect of all round. For me, there were definitely awareness of less injuries, soft tissue injuries, breaks, all this sort of stuff. The one area we'll probably get into a little bit later, as you've spoken about, is the one area we don't know how much less there were, because we didn't really talk about it, and it wasn't really talked about, was the head injuries. And I suppose that's an area where we didn't really know the better. The one thing I will say is at the side of, when you're talking about the jack and the breakdown, sorry to go on about this now, the fact that the contact point, okay, is really important. Okay, so players, I think, and I give the benefit of the doubt, especially players today. Back in the day, I'd question it massively, but I don't believe there's real malice and intent to harm. Okay, so it's a real important point to make, because like when you're a player and you're coming into the breakdown, okay, your mindset is to basically take away what's in the way of getting your possession. Okay, so that is your job. And similarly on the other side, if you're a 6 or 7 coming into that, you might be a 2 or whatever, it doesn't matter. 1 to 8 can do it now. You come into that position is trying to turn over or first prize is turnover ball. First prize always turnover, but your main reason is to slow ball down. Why? Because we have to set our defense. That's massively important. So that's going to cause another problem to this area, because if you start blowing very early and rucks become really quick, okay, where you're going to find yourself, because that's part of the actual connection to the game around defense, because a slow ruck equals a better defense. Faster rucks, as we know, makes the defense a nightmare, because not only are you not on side, but you're not connected, you're out of line, etc., etc. The knock-on effects around that, Anyway.
Okay. No, good points, BJ. Here's a question for you, Director. You, BJ, from our colleague Dara Weston. Would BJ agree that a key problem is that most refs come from backs and so have academic knowledge of the scrum rather than real workings of a scrum or ruck and the dark arts? I don't know how true that is.
No, I don't think so. I do believe, though, that I'm kind of outspoken around the whole upskilling, coaching, and I suppose hands-on coaching around refereeing early on, about understanding the scrum. Okay. I suppose if you want to talk about the scrum in a sense, that literally, I would believe that a great, part of referees and the referees that I've worked with have been in the training grounds often, with the players often, understanding how the players' thought processes are in this area. What are we looking for? What do we react to? I take myself back to Wise Nigel Owens, one of the best referees ever to kind of coach, to ref the scrum and also the breakdown, the contact point. Why? Because you knew where he stood with him. He held his ground, and when he did give you any feedback, you kind of thought and were kind of taken back by his knowledge. So you actually didn't question anything around that area. You basically knew exactly this guy knew what he was talking about. No questions asked. I buy in. There's no more trickery on my side. No more dark arts. So that's the fundamental side. Rugby players are bred in the professional era and in the international specifically to push the envelope, and they will push the envelope as far as you allow them, specifically in the scrum and the breakdown, as we know.
Yes.
We'll name the players
all too well.
Well,
All too well. Okay, thanks, BJ. Great points raised there by yourself. Claire Devaney, your thoughts about this whole banning the jackal or changing it or whatever. What do you think?
BJ made a point there. They keep changing the laws and the rules and the regulations. If they keep changing them, it's like define what it is and then make sure the rest know exactly what the letter of the law is, where the line is, like Nigel knew. Because if they keep changing it, it becomes a grey area that it's like, oh, where is it? What are we doing? And just the rest of it, I don't know if they're not as they don't stick to their points as much. It's kind of like I don't really know. So maybe there's no like definition and no this is what it is and it's because I say so.
So is it the grey area, Claire?
It's the grey. Yeah, it is the grey area. And as BJ said, if they keep changing it, if you continuously keep changing it, you have people that are working to the old laws. You have people that are working to the younger people coming through with the new laws. Yeah, I know laws and regulations need to change for the safety of the players. But if they keep changing them for no reason whatsoever, or there's no like clear definition as to why they're changing it, it will become thing, and then we will just do we stop and do we become tick, tag, or league where there's no contact like in the stuff.
Didn't Luke Pearce say, Claire, that the laws are too complicated?
The laws are too complicated. Yeah. You did ask Nigel about that when we were at Nigel's show.
I did. Okay.
Did.
Thanks,
and
Claire.
His answer was to the point. There you go.
That's exactly what Nigel said. Yes. Thanks, Claire. Matt Boland, your thoughts on this? the jackal, the changing, the banning. Go on, Matt.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the jackal is fundamental in the game at the moment, and if they are to eliminate and eradicate it altogether, it's taking away the contestability of ball at the breakdown for defensive and offensive teams, and then you're just really skipping into the likes of rugby league where you're taking 5 tackles, and once your 5 tackles are done, it's turnover ball. So we really don't want to go down that line. How they go about refereeing it better? Look, we all understand the laws and the rules of the game. They are.
Do we? Do we?
Well, technically, but we know that they're up to interpretation, and any interpretation of any law, it's how they understand and interpret that law. Now, things that can be done on the pitch may not go against the rules directly, but it's just down to your interpretation of the laws. And this is how you have the likes of, say, Razzie Erasmus doing outlandish things, and it's all by the letter of the law, but everybody's going, you can't do that. And he goes, no, well, you can. If you read the laws, there's no laws against doing that. Like it brings everything, really difficult for the referees to referee and to control. And we've spoken about this so many times, and the referees, it's tough enough for the referees at the moment, but when these laws are changed or altered, it's almost if they're not giving the referees enough time to adapt themselves to that. But look, and another point BJ was saying, like there's no player in this world from any level, whether it's minor, amateur, professional, no player goes out on the pitch to deliberately, intentionally hurt another player. It's against the ethos and the way we're brought up, and how to be respectful to players, be respectful for yourself, be respectful for the referees and all the officials and all that sort of stuff. So safety has to come into it as well. We've seen and talked about the concussions and how it's affected people in the past, and how players have to take it on themselves that if they're not feeling well, they don't play. But yeah, look, I mean, you've got the jackal for me is one of those key areas where, especially for like defensive teams, when they're tackled and the ball goes down, like if they're not allowed to jackal or contest for the ball, then you're just you're switching codes to league straight away. So
Yeah.
I'd be dead set against it anyway.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Mike Reedy, I hear a rant.
Here we go.
No.
we all hear a rant at this stage.
I agree with what the
Go on,
lad
Mike.
said. As Matt said, I mean, it's a fundamental part of of rugby, the jackal at the breakdown. Part of the issue has of what has changed rugby as a game is the actual size of players, the bulking of players in the professional era, and they spend so much time in the gym. So the game as a whole has changed from back in my day and completely. And it's certainly a serious issue, and also what's become an issue. I mean, some of the changes to the laws are reactionary changes. They're changes because of some incident that has occurred in a game or more than one incident maybe. So they're reactionary changes, which is never healthy. But what do they do? I mean, the jackal.
But Mike, would you ban the jackal as has been called
not.
for?
Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't, because you can't. Like, it completely changes everything about the sport if we start with that. Now, they may have to reduce the number of players that enter a ruck or something like that. You know, because when somebody comes flying in, the problem is a clear out. I mean, the first players to enter the ruck, the referee maybe a decision has to be made on if the first player that enters the ruck goes off their feet, it's a penalty. It should be a penalty straight away, probably.
But that happens all the time. It's always a penalty.
But it's not refereed that way, Peter. That is part of the problem.
Anytime a player goes into a ruck and they're straight off their feet, it's a penalty. Straight. I've never seen it.
Unfortunately, they don't always. It's not always the case that they do give that. So, but the jackal. I honestly don't see a way around it. I don't like. It's a really complex situation, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I just can I just say something on from what Mike said there quickly?
Go on.
Yeah.
I just want to say I agree with him in the sense of the one part I don't agree is the fact that I feel players are kind of stronger and more explosive. I feel across the board they are the same, but the one area that's been the difference, and I suppose this is the critical part around. When you do play an 80-minute game, it's now for me they're fitter. So when you're fitter, you can then bring this physicality for a large amount of part of the game, okay, a lot longer. So you can get to a jackal in a position every single time. You can get there and that force that comes through you. Why? Because you're fitter. So you can really bring that through, and I think that's a critical difference in that area. The second part to this is I think. We've come, just to give credit, I think we've come massively from when a lot of maybe us played and where we've come with a ruck. I mean, I think it's the best we've ever been, you know, especially with the croc roll and side entries with the knees and stuff like that, you know, and hopefully if we need to, it's just a refinement, you know. I think that's the key.
Sorry, BJ, I don't mean to cut across you, but
no, of course.
So would you say that what David Corkery said is he slightly sensationalizing the whole thing?
What's that? Just repeat that.
It's when David Corkery said that it's only a matter of time when we watch on live TV when a player gets seriously injured or dies. Is David Corkery sensationalizing it to some extent?
Well, you have to understand. Well, is that only possible at the ruck?
No, it's not. You're right. It's not.
So, like, it's a contact sport, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I can tell you the things that would happen to players and myself and things in the scrum that people don't see. And I mean, you know,
yes,
you know, people not, you know, just I suppose not having control of their bodies because they've passed out because of lack of oxygen, and so Hooker just basically falls down and falls awkwardly on his head. I mean, how do you stop that? I know it's a silly explanation. I suppose it's exaggeration.
No, I know.
Sorry, it's not an exaggeration. It's just a kind of explanation. But the fact is that, of course, the game is, for me, many times safer than it was. And I think that's the key we have to go to, okay? We have to keep on finding a way to make it safer. But it's not going to be completely eradicated because of the sport it is. And I think that's also important to hold.
No, you're right, BJ. I totally agree with you. Like, having played the game, we've all played the game except Mike. He's just an armchair pundit. But we've all played the game. I mean, you will never eradicate accidental head collisions.
No.
I don't think.
It's just.
I don't.
Go on, Claire.
I don't think he'll eradicate injuries. I know a chap
No, you won't.
that was.
You won't.
Yeah.
No. I know a chap that was caught in a scrum or collapsed, and someone's boots connected with his lower regions, and one of his balls basically popped and nearly fucking exploded. The man was rushed to hospital like that, and even I was like, "Oh, that sounds really so." Like, he was out for a fair couple of months. That wasn't intentional. It was just the way of the game. Yeah. And you're kind of going, "Oh yes," but that I think as BJ said, it's a contact sport. There's going to be injuries in any contact sport.
Exactly.
An example. Sorry, an example that I was just going to say, and I always go back to the scrum just because I feel like it's obviously what I experienced, but like the safer areas around, say, if you look at like junior sides and, especially junior sides where you can start building this up and maybe semi-pro, is that an area, for instance, for the scrum, okay, is the one thing you can hit hard on and it will make it safer. And what you can control is, for instance, if a scrum collapses, okay, everyone stops pushing. So what you have a lot of the time is that everyone is in momentum, but it's not actually the front row. It's the second row and the back row that don't know what's going up front. So all you need there is a little inch or 2 inch to actually cause damage, to be honest, because someone's head's planted in the ground, okay? So that I'm just using an example, okay? That little difference there can make a massive difference on the other side, if you understand what I mean.
Yes.
How you manage that is a different part, okay? How you manage that. It's just that I suppose I'm in that world, and it's the same for other parts of the game. I think it needs to be refined more than changed.
Yes. That's a very good point, BJ. Yes. Okay. Mark Reen, good evening all. Looking great, BJ. Some operator. Okay. Dara Weston, refs like Nigel had a fixed set of laws to know and had to make decisions on the spot, whereas now refs have ever-changing laws along with the get out of the TMOs bunkers that they can pass decisions onto. The 20-minute red card has also given a further get out of jail card for refs who don't want to give a straight red, and that largely came in because of the All Blacks being upset after the Rugby World Cup final. I don't know. BJ, any comments on that question from our colleague Dara Weston?
What did he say there? Sorry, I've missed that.
He said, I'll read briefly. He said, refs like Nigel had a fixed set of laws to know and had to make decisions on the spot, whereas now refs have ever-changing laws, along with the get out of TMOs and bunkers that they can pass decisions onto. The 20-minute red card has also given a further get out of jail card for refs who don't want to give a straight red, and that largely came in because of the All Blacks being upset after the Rugby World Cup final.
Yeah, I would say, and I would to an extent agree with that, because of the fact that, you're forced to make a decision. When I suppose you're going to take knowledge, you're forced to make a decision in that moment. Make it. Use that knowledge, use whatever you have at your disposal, and make the decision and move on from that. Because again, where do we go with rugby? Are we going to be completely sure every single time? Yes, we want to. Obviously, there's a lot of money, a lot of things involved in the sport. Of course, we want to be. However, we still have humans in the middle there, and we also have the other sides. Empower them to make decisions what they see with their linesmen. And I do agree, it's easy to go up front. Let's offset this responsibility. Let's throw it up there, And I mean, of course, someone's going to be crying about something that didn't go their way. I mean, that's a tough one to discuss. But in the one sense, I do believe the fact that when the guys were forced to make a decision, I believe they made it. And generally, when you don't have a lot of options at your disposal, you're probably more acutely aware maybe of that position you're in. And also, as we mentioned earlier, when laws stay the same over a few years, it has that ability for adaptation and to infiltrate through the refs that are coming up the system, and then you get that momentum and get that symmetry and alignment. I think that's important. But when you do have the change happening, oh well, okay, guys, the whole chat goes by the ref. Okay, now we're going to try and work together. Yeah, it's a new law, guys. Okay, fine. Players are going, no, we're not going to work together. we're gonna
Yeah,
find our own. We're gonna
Yeah,
find
no,
our
no.
own way, you know.
Yeah, no. I totally agree. Okay, just a few more comments coming in. Mike Sheedy, back in the days, rugby games, it worked then, but these new rules, laws, are putting players' safety over out the window. Some of the refs and TMOs don't know what is going on in some games. Okay, Mark Green, outlawing the jackal would really take a lot away from the game. I'd agree, Mark. Yes. Let me just see. Oh my God. Kieran Ryan. Evening, everyone. Player safety has to come first. So many new laws even have come in the last few years. We see the ref in the Munster game last season saying there's too many rules in the game. It's a contact sport. Injuries happen, as we have just discussed. In contact sports, I'd like to see more players involved with discussion about laws coming in. Thank you, Kieran, for that. Dara Weston, I'm not having a go at the box, BJ, but
yeah, that means he is having a go.
Okay, thanks, Claire. I'm not having a go at the box, but BJ, but if forwards had to play 80 minutes, then you'd find 120, 130 kg props would have to drop to 115, 110 kg. Interesting point there, BJ.
Well, you broke up there. What did you say? Sorry, just repeat that again.
Dara Weston, he said, I'm not having a go at the box, BJ, but if forwards had to play 80 minutes, then you'd find 120, 130 kg props would have to drop to 115, 110 kg. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Well, of course, you need to carry your body weight. And I suppose the fact is that, in one sense, isn't that World Rugby's fault bringing in more substitutions? In one sense, they were trying to obviously offset that by allowing more subs from back in the day where we had 18 or 20, not even. And I suppose you allow them at your disposal. And I think that's the thing about this tossing between, do you have a fresh player on? And then they can, because a fresh player obviously leads to obviously more, I suppose, impetus on the opposition, but also allows that injury, soft tissue stuff not to occur as much either, so
I would say, BJ, one name, Will Skelton.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a 40-minute, 50-minute player. That's it. That's all you get out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
100%.
Excellent.
Here is Scaroot, otherwise known as Len, our colleague as well. BJ played under McGahan, Penny, and Foley. Was it a different dynamic for BJ playing under Axel? Was not only an ex-player but also a Munster legend. BJ, question to you.
Yeah, of course. Those coaches were all different. Tony McGahan was different when I came into Munster, and then Rob Penny came in with a kind of a different model. But Axel was, a lot younger and a lot closer to us as it is an ex-player. And he was really passionate about the areas that we were passionate about. And he loved the maul. He loved the contact points as he was as a player, So we, as me and him, had a great relationship, we spoke every week, multiple times around, off field and on field. And, we had a great relationship, and it was Axel's personality and the way he did things really that was the key, And I suppose, sometimes when you're an ex-player, especially when you're coming off, just a few years, things don't go as easy, especially with players that you've played with. But he was able to do that. He was able to have the respect of what he wanted to bring in, but also have that relationship with you. And so that was Axel really.
No.
Good man.
I hear you.
Top man.
Top man indeed. Good point, BJ. Okay, moving on. I want to, Claire. I want to ask you about this, BJ. I know you've hinted that you might have some strong opinions on this. Claire, the Rugby Championship. This is the last time the Rugby Championship is going to be on an annual basis. We are. What are we bringing in? The nations. The which?
Who made that decision? World Rugby?
I don't talk to me about World Rugby.
Okay. I do like the Rugby Championships now.
So do I. It's kicking off this weekend, and we'll go on. Yes. We'll talk about the games towards the end of the show. So the Rugby Championship, it's an annual competition, which I enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy watching it. But it's now going to be every 2 years.
So what's going in its place?
The Nations Championship. Brilliant.
Which will be okay.
I have no fucking idea.
Okay. Okay. Can I have a minute to Google what the Nations Championship is, or are they just randomly thrown?
I haven't even asked you the question. I haven't.
Okay,
even asked you the question. All right, just
me. I always talk.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah. All right. My question is, with the advent of all this, now we have spoken about this before, but with BJ on, I wanted to get his thoughts on it. The rugby calendar, both northern and southern hemisphere, is it not too bloody crowded at the moment? With the planned tournaments coming in, hold on, Claire. We have Rugby 360. There was talk of a Rugby Club World Cup. Now, I know we have brought this up in past shows, but let's just reiterate what we think. Is the rugby calendar getting too crowded at the moment?
Yes.
Or the
Yes.
plans to do it? Yeah.
Well, at the moment it is too crowded, and with all the plans they're bringing in, it's going to be even more crowded. You have to realise that. Okay, I work 52 weeks a year. Well, no, whatever, 48 weeks a year in my job. I sit behind a desk. I'm an accountant. I'm not throwing myself into people that are 110 kilograms. I'm not getting smacked every day of the week. Their body has to. Their body needs to recover. Okay, I know they have like whatever the rules that they can only play so many games and they need rest periods and stuff. But by Jesus, their bodies are going through a lot. I was only talking to someone the other day about it. Some of the guys that were on the Lions tour started pre-season probably August last year and have gone all the way from August last year in pre-season, which is probably just as hard as gone through the whole season, gone through the Six Nations, gone through the rest of the season, Champions Cup if they're there, and then hit the Lions. That's a full 12 months of.
And the URC, Claire.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's yes, it is because I believe now. I would watch rugby every day of the week, and I've no problem watching rugby every day of the week. But they have to think of the players that are doing it. Yes, I know they're paid and they are professionals, but still they're putting their bodies out there every week.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Claire. BJ, go on. The point to you, the rugby calendar as it stands, it is crowded both in the northern and the southern hemisphere. What do you think of this changing the tournaments?
Yeah, I think it is, as we've mentioned, it is crowded. And I suppose the critical part is, look, rugby championship, to call it, and the Tri-Nations. And look, I think it's changed. I suppose in one part we've seen, I don't know what year it is now going to be coming in, but New Zealand are going to be touring. And the first tour in I don't know how many years that are going to be touring and playing against provincial sides and a whole big tour again. And I suppose, if we see more of that side now, I believe it's what we're looking for. And the reason is because I feel, that's a critical part about rugby at times. I suppose look at most recently when we've seen Munster play against the All Blacks, and Leinster play against an international side, and all these kind of games that attracts the crowds first and foremost. It's hell of entertaining. And I think it brings that emphasis about rugby through. And I think it's something different. And, the one part I will say is that the critical part about player welfare, okay, is twofold. I think obviously they are professional, there's that, and they do get paid to what they do, and et cetera, et cetera. However, from an entertainment perspective and what it is rugby, and we need to be aware of that, we want the guys, they're almost above their best players playing for their club, at any given stage, because that'll bring the supporters through, and we're not going to have just basically a kind of a platform where we're trying to upskill and bring up the next generation. We don't want that. They're paying to come see the game. We want to see great clashes. And I think, it is, the more crowded it gets, the less we'll see of that. Because on the other side, we also want to make sure that we preserve and look after the international calendar. I think that's critical for rugby, especially these long-term tours,
I know, but BJ, like a professional sport, brilliant. But it's not golf. Like these lads are, they're collisions. They're as you mentioned earlier, there's soft tissue damage. There is fractures. There's breaks. Again, as I said, it's not golf. It's not tennis. This is a full-on bloody physical tough sport, and you can only get so much out of any player, no matter who they are.
And I suppose then in line with that is the fact that it's no surprise that the teams that are winning, trophies, have squads, of 40, 45 players that that we can have 2 teams basically starting at any given
Yeah.
stage. Those are
Yes,
the teams
yes.
that are winning. Okay, so those are the teams. The squads now is the key, and I suppose it's because in line with the number of games, the injuries, the soft tissue, giving them time to recover. And I suppose the recruitment plays a big part in this as well. You know, one of the very smartest recruiting moves I saw from a team was Leinster, and they brought in a guy like Slimani on the tight head.
Yes,
Very,
yes.
very smart. Okay, and I don't know if people realize this is one of the reasons, because he just, you know, gave that experience. You know, he was in a place where you could give that first and foremost, and not only that, you knew exactly that he'll lock down a scrum wherever, and he'd allow that breakdown, almost that opening test cricketer. If people all know cricket, that
No, BJ, stop,
okay.
stop
Am
talking.
I going somewhere else now? Okay, hold on. Okay, well,
No.
I don't have that analogy to go, but it's basically that guy that's just there to kind of buy the time. Don't let them smell blood. You know, just hold the wall. Okay, and it's a critical part, because rugby is also within those 80 minutes. It's about momentum, you know, and it's about you know, holding that momentum and turning that momentum around. So sometimes, as I said, and again, I'm sorry for the viewers and the guys that are listening that always go back to scrum, but it's the fact that a scrum sometimes might not be better than you, but what they damn well do is they come at you every single time, and that's tiring, because you've just mauled, you've just tackled, and you come into another scrum and they get the better of you, and that's a confidence thing, and they come back at you again, and actually your job becomes a lot harder, you know.
True, very true. Thanks, BJ. Thanks, Claire. Matt, before I come to you and ask you just a couple of comments from people watching. Neil McKeown, the Nations Championship is replacing the July and November tests. New Zealand touring South Africa in 2026, so that could impact on the Rugby Championship. Our colleague Peter Martin, good evening all. With the extra tournaments and games, is there a positive where fringe players get more game time to develop? The top players will likely be protected anyway. That's kind of what you were saying, BJ, about that. Yeah, okay. Neil McKeown, again, South Africa have plans to tour New Zealand in 2030, which again could impact. Okay, right. Okay, thanks, Neil. Thanks, Pete. Matt Boland, the rugby calendar, just chock-a-block, too much if all these new tournaments. Now, albeit this new rugby R360 thing, which we have spoken about before, is planned. Now, apparently they've signed 160 players. They need 200. Wages of $1 million have been touted. They're looking to sign something. 4, I don't know, BJ, if you've heard this, but I read they 4 named South African players on their books. They haven't been named. I don't know. This R360 tournament, which I don't know, is planned to go next year from September to December, which it looks like it's going to take an awful lot of the named, the crowd draws away from rugby. Matt, is the rugby calendar just too full?
Yeah, look, we've spoken about this before. The rugby calendar is full. So my question would be then, is it the fact that they're moving the rugby championship down to 2 years is to accommodate for the likes of Rugby 360 and to accommodate for the likes of New Zealand and South Africa to tour in each other's countries every few years? Is that the case?
I don't know. I've no idea. The word rugby had a brain fart as far as I'm concerned.
So are they? So say for argument's sake now, if R360 signs some Irish players, some English players, Scottish and Welsh, are you going to move to Six Nations to every 2 years or every 3 years as well, or?
Well, hold on. You're jumping the gun. They're not going to be signing any Welsh players.
I am jumping the gun, but of course I am. But like, is this a consequence now of this whole Rugby 360 that it's just now shifting because obviously some South African players have been signed by this R360? Is this a threat?
I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to pan out or how it's going to work. I genuinely don't know.
That would be my initial reaction and my thoughts, that because the Rugby Championship is going to be accommodating now every 2 years for allowing both New Zealand and South Africa, because I think they wanted to go on tour again each country for the development as well every so often, which is obviously allowed then the Rugby Championship to be switched.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, I don't know.
I think this.
It's
Sorry,
BJ, did you know an answer to what Matt is asking?
Yeah, I think it's important to note, I suppose, from a history perspective, those tours that, we talk about New Zealand, South Africa are really, kind of historic tours. And I suppose they want to bring that up. They want to bring that through again. I think it's a big thing for the provinces, and as you mentioned, in South Africa and the unions in New Zealand. I think it's something that they want to build up to again. And I suppose one part that they're willing to kind of let go of the rugby championship. I don't think I don't know from a financial, but if it was anything else, I don't think it's a tough decision for them, because that's going to be huge for them. I think it's, as you mentioned, they develop players on those tours because they play them through the provincial teams, and they obviously bring them through and get them ready for the test matches, And I think it's a great tour spectacle for. I think the stadiums will obviously, of course, be full because it's really attractive, and you see, the whole thing about, I suppose, coming back to the Lions, traveling and touring as such, you get these, influx of touring parties as well. I don't think the new rugby, what is it called, or 365,
360.
360,
or 360, yeah.
I don't think World Rugby want to do them favors, to be honest. I don't know. I think they are, in one part, a threat, in one sense, and I don't know.
I don't think they'll sanction it, BJ.
So I don't know how they're going to work this, and I think it's almost like I almost compare it to like a live.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
coming into the equation against the PGA being World Rugby, and eventually, I think they're gonna get through, but it's not going to be easy. And I think again, this discussion will hopefully play out then.
Well, hold on now. Let me ask you, BJ. Let me ask you. You being the former pro, right? Let me ask you. If you were playing today and someone from Rugby or 360 said to you, BJ, we'll give you $1 million if you join our league.
And apparently it's only for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
12 weeks. What would you do?
I would definitely say yes.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is
and,
why.
And it's not about, of course, it's about, they've earned their earning potential, but it's new, it's different. It's playing with, with players you've never played with. It's a different experience. The one thing I will say that the critical part as well, I think again, like, it's tough now, but it's not different now. So it is the fact that hopefully this is not going to, and again, as we see with the international calendar, we've seen how players, for instance, that are contracted in different countries, and I know these different decisions that unions make around selecting overseas. South Africa now, obviously under Rusty, has been selected overseas, and one of the reasons why they really had the symmetry in doing so well. But previously, sometimes French clubs don't release your players for like a non-test week.
No.
So like, I don't know if these start running over test matches and over the international window, how they work that, because that's going to be interesting to see. Then I believe you have a decision to make, because you kind of, you contracted already to your union, your province. Okay, when you play for your country and you have a chance to play a test match, it's another level up, and now you have the decisions to make around your contract. That's going to be critical. I don't know how they'll work that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Mike, briefly, because we're fast running out of time.
It's Mike. Mike and briefly. Don't go in the same sentence.
Yes. We've about 5 minutes left. Mike, go on quickly before we move on.
I just can't see how it can work at all, because...
Brilliant. Thanks, Mike. Okay. Dara Weston, Liv was meant to kill golf and didn't. This R360 shite won't kill rugby. It's basically taking the touring sevens format and bringing 15s around the world with a major
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, with a major focus on future World Cup hosts like the USA, Saudis, Qatar, etc. So World Rugby can justify awarding the Rugby World Cup to one of them. That is indeed a very good point, Dara. Okay, sorry, Mike, go on. I cut you off. I was on joke. Go on.
No,
the rugby calendar.
I can possibly work, as BJ has just said. They are contracted to clubs as it stands, and it's a whole new entity. I just don't see how there's just not enough players in World Rugby to be able to do that. And another thing that BJ just said was there are certain teams that do have the number of players at their disposal to maybe have two teams, to have 40 players in a squad. The squads of teams are going to have to be massive, and that incurs more costs. So I don't know how. I mean, this rugby 360. It's a live all over again, in a completely different sport. I mean, if they were going to do it, they should have chosen a sport with less contact and less implications. But I just can't see how it can possibly work at all.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I do. That was a very interesting point you made, BJ, about the rugby championship. Like we all think the rugby championship is great, but as a South African, you see playing a tour against New Zealand as a more lucrative kind of a prospect than playing the rugby championship. So therein lies a quandary. You know, is it more important to have the rugby championship every year than to have like a South African tour of New Zealand or vice versa?
Well, I think it's important to note that, like, obviously from the historic parts, you know, we grew up as South Africans, you know, watching these tours play out, and over the years, I suppose it's instilled in us, and you know, it still is around. And I suppose part of that is, yeah, as a player, you play and you travel quite a bit, and I suppose when you go on these tours, you are then in an area for a prolonged period of time. You get settled, you're there for 6-8 weeks. You know, and it's this long tour. You kind of don't back and forth and travel and have a break and then at home. And I suppose the rugby championship, as I said, I think when I played the Tri Nations, there was obviously only the three countries, but I suppose Argentina came into the fold. So there's a lot of travel there, okay? And I suppose hooked in with your other games, and we talk about the number of games and stuff. So I think that will be favourable in the sense of if you can. You know, tour and have this massive tour, and as you know, the clashes of South Africa and New Zealand go back, and I suppose that's what makes it really appealing. I think, and from even from for me entertainment perspective, it's big. You know, we have the stadiums in South Africa that are really full because of these massive stadiums we have. It's I believe playing against the Bulls, New Zealand against the Bulls, you know, you kind of it will be packed and full. And you know, and the similar thing will be when South Africa plays against the Highlanders and Hurricanes and all these other unions and Northland and stuff. So I think it's very exciting. As a player, I would prefer that. There's no doubt. Okay. I would be far ahead. Like to go on tour like that, it's a different feeling around a tour like that. You know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, folks. We are fast approaching the hour mark. As I said to you, BJ, we rarely cover all the topics I send you. So we never
cover all the topics.
We never do. Okay,
BJ, not really, never.
BJ, I'll have you the last voice on the show. So so I'll ask you last. So looking forward to this weekend. As we mentioned, the Rugby Championship is kicking off this weekend. So we do our usual win, lose, or draw. Claire Devaney. I'll come to you first on this. The first game we have...
South Africa and New Zealand.
Okay. So South Africa are playing Australia, Claire. Give us a score differential there, please. And stop anticipating my questions. Thank you.
Sorry. I just know what you're going to say. South Africa by 14.
South Africa by 14?
Yeah.
I think it'll be more than that. Okay. All right. Argentina versus New Zealand. Are we going with script?
New Zealand by 23.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just picking random numbers here.
Yeah, you're like Donald Trump with the crime figures. Picking
random numbers. It's just random numbers.
Okay. Matt Boland. Okay, Matt Boland, to you. We're just concentrating on these two games because we're bang on the hour mark now. South Africa versus Australia, Matt. Win, lose, or draw? Who's winning? Who's losing? Who's drawn?
Well, South Africa are winning that, and I reckon it's going to be 26 points.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Okay, thanks, Matt. Argentina versus New Zealand, Matt.
New Zealand by 17.
Okay, Mike Reedy. South Africa versus Australia. Who's doing the business?
South Africa, I'll give them a tune. 20, at least 20 plus points.
Okay. Argentina versus New Zealand, Mike.
Now this game is in Buenos Aires. I'm not so sure that's going to be a massive. I'm actually going to go with Argentina.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Argentina play shite at home.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll see.
They went.
They didn't play shy.
They got
They
this.
put 70 points on fucking Australia.
Hold on, Mike.
Yeah, they lost. They
Argentina.
lost to England, like.
Mike. So you're
He's
going.
had a stroke.
I said it.
Hold
Okay.
on. So you're going for an Argentina win.
Yes.
By 17 points, he said.
By 7 points.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said 17. Sorry.
Okay, so a one score game. Okay, last voice on the show, BJ.
So,
to you, South Africa versus Australia.
so just remind me what stadium they're playing. I don't even know what stadium they're playing in.
I have
probably
important. Where they're
Sorry,
playing?
now.
Where they're
The
playing?
Emirates Airline Park.
Oh, they're playing Ellis Park. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be tough for Australia. I think we would be at least 15 to 20 points better there. It's going to be tough there. But I'm going to go with Mark, and I'm going to say 7 points Argentina.
What? Would you
And
ever
I
stop?
believe,
BJ,
I believe that, of course, they are up for it, and they showed it against the Lions, and they almost this kind of very sometimes emotional side, but I believe they've got something there, and I think they can, if they get a sniff at it. I think they're not as kind of how can I say concerned around scores being away from them, and they keep on fighting and grinding it out. I do think they've got a chance. I'm going to go with that. 7 points to Argentina.
France took a third team out to fucking Australia or to New Zealand and give them a game.
Yeah.
BJ, BJ, if they win by 7, I will come out to Malahide some night and buy it a pint.
Will you
Very
fucking
good.
that's one buy me one?
I
You're in Scotland, BJ, because like it's 10 minutes down the road where he
If Argentina beat New Zealand, I think we'll all go out to Malahide and buy BJ.
I didn't buy a pint. Yeah, we're having a party in Malahide Clubhouse.
Yes,
very good.
Well.
Eric McCorkle, this has been a great listen. Thanks to everyone. I love the essence of our game is integrity. Mark Green, great show. Thanks all. Well, thank you all for watching. Okay, folks, that is all we have time for. It's been our pleasure to chat amongst each other and also for your questions and thank you for you watching. My thanks are to Claire Devaney, Matt Boland, Mike Reedy, and of course our special guest who has been absolutely fantastic with his info, with his insights, with his comments, his commentary. BJ Botha, thank you. Thank you very much. It has been our pleasure. It's been our pleasure, BJ.
Thank you very much, BJ.
Thank you, BJ.
Good night, all. Good night, all.
Bye,
Enjoy the rest
bye.
of your evening. Good night. Bye.
Bye.